Okay, get ready to start second set of introduction or basic training videos for modifying aircraft liveries. In the first set, I showed you how to put a simple registration number on your aircraft and a little taste of throwing things on the aircraft that you want or getting rid of decals. But that was doing it to already existing liveries. So you probably at the point where if you've got that down, you want to make your own livery that you can call up instead of using one of Azobo's or one of somebody else's. So I'm going to try to show you the mechanics. I'm not going to paint an airplane. I'm just going to show you the mechanics of what you need to get your own livery folder set up so that you can put it in the community folder and have your own livery. Hopefully you won't get too bored with this. I'll try to keep it as simple as I can. And in doing so, I'm going to use an already existing livery template, and GotGravel at the GotGravel Discord for the Gravel aircraft and for the his Carbon Cub, and also for a few of his other aircraft, Vertigo, and now the Monster NX Cub. He has livery templates that allow you to design your own livery, put those into a template, get them into your community folder, and get them operated. And they're also set up so that one, if there's any updates to the aircraft, that it's fairly simple and there shouldn't be too much problems. And two, so that you can go online and fly in the Discord and not cause too many issues. It can get complicated. It can get complicated for all these things to use this stuff. So it's a set standard. He's got some standards in there to follow. So I'm going to start by opening up his GotGravel template. And what you see here is you see sim objects, layout JSON, manifest, and a layout generator. So basically, these two files here, the layout JSON, I'll open that up. It is basically a catalog and a layout of all the files that are contained in this sim object folder. Okay, basically a set of guidelines. It's like an index for somebody to read, being the computer, of where everything's at, and the path to them, the size of them, the date the file was created or put into the folder, etc. The next one down is the manifest JSON. That basically gives information about this file, the title of it, the original manufacturer, who created this, in this case Azobo Studios and GotGravel. Some folks, including myself, when they make a livery folder, they will change that to their name, which nobody seems to have a problem with, package version number and so forth. And I think that's perfectly acceptable. And what also this does is there are some things like an add-on linker that will pick up this information and it will show the latest version and keeps track of if there's any updates and stuff like that. I think the profile might keep this read this information too and indicate on there when there's an update to something. The next down, this layout generator, you can get this online. You can also get it in any one of GotGravel's mods that he's downloaded. A few others, I think I have it in some of mine, and it can be found on the internet to download. And it's just a executable program, a set of instructions on how to build this layout JSON. And what it does is basically you grab a hold of this drag it down on top of the layout generator. You may get this window the first time you run it. You just need to go to the more info, run anyway. And it runs its routine, and it updates this JSON for everything that's been added to or changed in this folder up here, which is Sim Objects. So if you open up the Sim Objects and go to Airplanes, and he's got 2 liveries in here that you could have in this folder. You could build more in here if you wanted to, just calling them Livery 3, Livery 4, Livery 5, or different names. This is just a basic template setup. So I'm going to open up number 1, and it's got a model, a panel, and a texture folder, and then it has aircraft.cfg. This aircraft.cfg gives all the information needed of where to look for things on top of the JSON. You've got your model number or model name, your panel name, and the texture folder. And this is pretty self-explanatory. It goes down and it shows you where to put your livery names. And basically you use a text editor, fill these things in. One of the important things I want to show you is up here where it says base container. When you start delving into building your own liveries, this is going to be a key item right here. And what this basically does is it's a variation to what Flight Simulator is going to do when it boots up and it starts looking for things. It's going to go into the community folder, and it's going to look at the community folder, and when it comes across this, if I go to my community add-ons, of course I have an add-on linker, so my community folder is in a different location, and I have it set up into categories. But if I go down here to aircraft mods, and that's where GotGravel, Savage Gravel is, and if I twirl this open and go to Sim Objects and I go to Airplanes, you'll see at the top here it says Asobo Savage Gravel, and you notice the spelling and the layout is exactly the same as it is right here. And that's what this is going to be directed to add as a livery into that grouping. So if you got this wrong, it's not going to find that. This set of dots and a dash up here tells Asobo, or tells Flight Simulator where it's got to go basically to find this package. Okay, a lot of this is explained in the SDK. If you take the time to read it, it's the layout is there, what different things do. It can explain all this stuff. So I'm not going to try to get into too much detail. I'm just showing you where these things are at. And if you'll notice, if you go into the aircraft CFG here in the mod, and you scroll down here, it gets all this information and stuff. You get down here, it's a flight sim 0. This also starts at flight sim 0. So you're basically adding to what's already in existence. So that's how your livery shows up. I'm going to back out of here again, and I'm going to close this off right now. And let's take a look here. We've got a model file, and this basically is the model file with the directions of where to find those XML files to put together the model. And it'll direct it to that Asobo Savage Gravel, to the model folder, and then that's the XML files it needs to construct the model in Flight Simulator. You rarely ever have to change this or do anything with it other than to have it in the folder. I have run across a couple situations where I had to mess with this, either reduce the number of file levels that has to go to, or even change the name when I'm building my own livery and I don't have this done for me. Then it becomes an issue. If I was to go into the, I'm going to drop down and go to MSFS, and I'm going to go to the official folder, and let's just pick the Neo just to grab an airplane. if I go down here to the aircraft or to the model folder, and if I open up the CFG, you see it just goes straight normal equals aircraft. So it's already in the right folder that it needs to be in to do its thing. It doesn't have to be sent somewhere else. And that's what these dots and backward slash are doing here, is sending the setup into other folders to get the information, in other words, to get all this stuff that needs to build that model. To get out of here, I'll go down to the panel folder. Usually, if you're not worried about registration numbers and stuff like that, you don't need this panel. You don't need to have this in here. A couple of pointers right now is if you start building your own and you set up a model file and you set up a panel folder, do not bring the XML file over with it. If I go into, let's go to mods, and we'll go down to Gravel, sim objects, airplanes, Zobo. I'm going to open up the panel file here. You see there's a panel CFG and a panel XML. If this file is over here in your livery in the community folder, and there's an update to Flight Simulator, or GotGravel updates his model somehow, there may be changes to this XML file that won't get done to the file that's in your livery. So that can be a problem. So it's a good thing not to pull this over if you don't have to. I've rarely run into a situation where I need this over here. Every once in a while I'll mess up. I will grab this panel folder and put the panel folder into my livery setup, and that's a mistake. So, trying to get you so that you can avoid having issues. Next down, the reason why this panel folder is here is because I talked about this earlier when we was talking about registration numbers. You see that these last two numbers are zeroed out so that it doesn't display a registration number on the outside of the aircraft. I believe there's, in the full package, there's some panel options that can be done, and he's got a full explanation on that. When you run into that, it'd be different panel setups. So, and he'll have a README file to go with it. All right, then you get into your texture folder. This folder right now is blank. It has two generic thumbnails, basically placeholders, and it has a texture CFG file. This texture CFG file is really important, and it's really important that you get it right. In this case, you really don't have to do anything because it's already set up to direct the setup of Flight Simulator to find everything it needs to. If you'll notice, there's like three sets of these two dots and the backslash, telling it that it's got to go into the root folder, or the official folder inside of Microsoft Flight Simulator to find the textures for these commonly used gauges. It only has to go a couple levels to go into the community folder, to go into the Savage Gravel, to find textures that are not included in this texture folder. And also, you'll notice that it has an Asobo Savage Cub, and that's telling it to look in Asobo Savage Cub folder for textures that are not included in GotGravel's texture folder. So it can get a little confusing, and that's just a basic layman's term explanation of what's going on here, so that you know what's happening. There are some variations. I'm going to look here. let me go down to the, let's see, I think it is the, get my head together here, the Monster NX Cub. I'm going to go into, let's see, GotGravels, black and yellow. Let's see, it's not there. Alright, and down here to the texture folder. Okay, you see this one has a few more things. There's also a generic planes that was added, I think, 2 updates ago to Azobo's Flight Simulator. Some aircraft require that, some don't. I know that when I was doing work on my Husky, when I opened up after one of the updates, the bezel on the one of the gauges was pink checkerboard, which indicates that there's missing textures that can't find. That boiled right down to one of the items in this file, and I think it was this texture planes generic wasn't in there, and that's why it couldn't find the information it needed. So this guy can cause you problems if it's not set up right. If you get the your folder all together and then you go in to look at your airplane and it's sitting there inside the hangar and it's all pink checkerboard, then there's something wrong here, or there's an issue not directing it to the texture folder, which is what this is. I've actually had a situation where I had a number 2 instead of a number 1 here, or I had a space, or I had some weird artifact that was wrong with this, and my texture showed up pink checkerboard because it couldn't find the textures. That simple. So usually if there's texture problems, it'll involve this folder, or it'll involve what you've done here under textures. You got your name wrong or something right here that will cause that problem. So opening these up, looking at them, reading them over before you get started is important. Everywhere that he's got your livery number, you want to change it. So what you're going to end up with, let's get this back. I'll go back here again. Let's go into one of my GotGravel. I'll go to AirPack. Open this up. Let's see. Let's just go down here to the orange. That'll work. I want to open up the aircraft.cfg. And I'll put these side by side. So you see, model equals your livery. That's where I have DCAF 1. The panel, I got DCAF 1. It all matches. So whatever you're calling your livery, you want to make sure that all 3 of these match. DCAF 1, DCAF 1, and DCAF 1. If there's no model folder in your setup and there's no panel folder in your setup, then leave these blank. They're basically, if I take all this out of here, that's how it should look with the 2 yeah, I can't even think today. With the 2 quotation marks sitting side by side, no space in between them, just like that. So edit, go back. Going on down the list, most of this is just general information. Down here where it's the next thing that you want to change is down here where it says your livery here under UI variation. Aerobatic orange is what I've got in here instead of DCAF. That's the actual name of the livery. You see up here at the top where I've got title, I have Savage Gravel, a dash, and aerobatic orange. So this name right here needs to match this. So if it says aerobatic orange here, this needs to say aerobatic orange. Alright? You keep on going down the list. Leave everything else. Created by, well, that was created by me. See, he's got your name over here, created by. Further on down the list, the ATC ID. Okay? He has SVGR for a generic ATC call sign, and I just put airpack 1 in, or airpack in, because that's what I do with my liveries. There's other areas that you can fill in if you was working on airliners and stuff like that. It's a good idea to do a little research into the SDK and figure out what all these are. It's information that you could use, not necessary. But once you're done filling this in so that it looks like here and it has all the information and you've double checked it, then you need to go up here to File and you need to go to Save and save it. That's about as far as I can go with that information. Let's see. I don't want to save because I don't want to save any changes. I'm going to open this up, the decaf, and I'm going to open this up. Okay. This is the template, and this is a completed, filled out template. If you'll notice, if I go turn on view, large icons, these are the thumbnails for my livery. Here's that CFG file, and these are all the files needed to get my livery into the game. And these are files that you'll need to provide. And this is one of the reasons why this layout generator is here. Once you fill this folder up with all these files, you're going to have to run this layout JCN. And where you get most of these files from, especially these JSON files, is from the package. You should be able to go right to GotGravels and open that up. Open up airplanes, and if you open up the textures, here are all the aircraft textures that are required to populate that aircraft, and this is where you would get the JSON files from. Okay, I basically start out and grab the whole set of them. Even though I may not need some, I put the whole set over there. That way, if I'm changing things around, the file's already there. I can get rid of files that I don't need. One thing that a lot of people forget is right down here where it says Airframe X6. Okay, what these two files are, what this file right here is, if I open it up, and it takes a second to open this guy up. In this particular case, he just has a grayed out file. There's nothing in here. And that setup, what this file does is when your aircraft is a long distance away, it is supposed to show up with colors. This is such small aircraft, a lot of times you're not going to see it. More noticeable when you're flying with other people on a Discord channel or something, whether or not your aircraft is going to show up. If I was to go into the NX Cub, let's go down to, let's see, Gravel Monster Cub. Open airplane. I want to go to the texture, and it's load 4, I think is what it is here. And go to the airplane. This one, I think, has a separate fuselage and wings. Yep. See, here's a miniature version of your texture. This one's all combined, and it's basically so that when that aircraft gets at a certain distance away, it switches over to this file, and you're supposed to have some representation of what the aircraft looks like. Alright, I'm going to go to the liveries, and I'll go down here to the Monster X Cub. This is my yellow one. Black and yellow. And we'll go down here to the load 4. I think I changed this. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I forgot to. I don't know why I closed out Photoshop. Sorry about that. Okay, you see, I've converted everything to yellow because you're not going to see all the little stripes and stuff. So I've just made the whole plane yellow. A little bit of black across here so that it looks like it, might be what it's supposed to be. But just to give you an idea. Alright, I'm done here. Close out. I'm going to close out of here. The important thing is that when you populate this texture folder, that you have both the texture file and the JSON that goes with it. That's all going to have to be in there. I could take and grab this whole set right now, and I could copy and paste that into here, overwriting what's here, and basically put this in. There's a few changes that I would have to go out and make to the folder structure. I could put that into Flight Simulator, into my community folder, and it would basically work. Have the right thumbnails and all that stuff. What I would have to do, I would have to go out to the aircraft folder, and I would have to change things so that, let's see, I'll go up here. I would have to change all of this so that it matched this, and I would have to change the name of the aircraft. See if I close that out and I go up. I'd have to change that. The livery thing would have to change. The livery name would have to change. The aircraft, even the folder name would have to change. So any place that he has your name, that's where you need to change the livery. Once that is all done, you would go into your folder, you would grab your JSON file, and you would drag it down on top of this generator, and it would generate everything that needs to be there. Hopefully that will give you a little bit of idea of what's involved. I'll get into it a little bit further as we go. I'm going to actually take and try to build one for you, and we'll go through the process together. So that'll be it for this one. Open these things up, take a look at them. It's a good idea to go into your community folder. Just go into aircraft, like go into anything. I'll pick Jing's freeware RV7 and open it up. I got the same thing. The only thing missing here is the file, the JSON generator, and they've added a content picture, which I think is required by MSFS for aircraft folders, aircraft files. Same layout. He has variants here. He's got the RV7, the RV7A, and then the RV7A gauges and RV7A gauges. So these are 4 different variants of the aircraft, and they're basically laid out the same way. Only there's a lot more information here that he has to have for this flight model. As far as the texture folder, it's got all the same elements of what our setup would be for a livery, only we don't need all this stuff. I copy all this stuff over and put it in my folder when I'm first starting out. Sometimes I forget and leave it, sometimes I don't, but I dig into everything. I like modifying as much as I can and make it my own. You may not want to start out. At the very start of your journey, you may only need the fuselage folder and the wing folder. I've seen some files where you download from Flight Sim 2. And by the way, if you are not already familiar with it, Flight Sim 2, this is where you get all kinds of free stuff and paid stuff that you can download, all the different liveries and stuff. So if you don't already know them, check them out, take a look, go in there, and you'll find a lot of goodies. Okay, this video has been long enough. I'm going to end it now, and on to the next one.